Hello everyone. Before I get to reading this, I just thought I'd let you know that if you detect any slurring or irregular speech patterns, that is because earlier this week I had a filling done at the dentist, and against his recommendation, I decided to eat before I could fully feel my face. And in the process, I bit my tongue pretty forcefully, and it's been hurting ever since. So, no, I am not drunk. My tongue hurts, and sometimes it makes me talk funny. Okay, let's begin. Sargon of Akkad is an ideologue, and so am I. Ideologue is not the insult that people think it is. I am an ideologue. You, most likely, are an ideologue. Anyone that has a strong sense of morality is one. Hey, Timmy, let's steal some candy from Walmart. No thanks. Stealing violates private property rights. God damn it, Timmy, you're such a goody two-shoes ideologue. Of course, an exchange like this is absurd. Ideologue is just a word for someone who takes their belief in something seriously. I've heard various commentators accuse feminists and the like of being ideologues, and that's why I'm commenting here. I'm not saying that they are using the word incorrectly, just that it is not the description or insult that they think it is. To show you what I mean, let's take a look at one of the commentators I've heard make this kind of accusation, Sargon of Akkad of the YouTube realm. I will make the case right now that Sargon is an ideologue. Keep in mind, this is not an attack. I'm just trying to bring clarity to this sort of argument. It's just a random chance that he was the one that sparked these thoughts. Here is the About page on his YouTube channel. I quote, "I'm for finding the truth of the matter, using rational arguments backed by evidence. I do my own research, and I try to be thorough. I also like to have in-depth conversations with stimulating people on a wide variety of subjects varying from gaming, anti-ideology, history, and fiction. We don't have to look past the first sentence to find Sargon's ideology. He has a preference for truth, rationality, and evidence. If you asked him to believe something that he knows to be false and he refuses, then he is demonstrating, as you could say, an uncompromising and dogmatic adherence to the truth, as the definition of ideology states. I only point this out to illustrate that he, and everyone that uses this word as a negative description, likely falls into that description as well. It's not the strong adherence to an ideology that's bad. It's the ideology itself and the actions that it inspires that needs to be evaluated. Being an ideologue with the right ideology is a very good thing. Using the word as a negative misses the mark to a degree by attacking the strong preference for an ideology and not the specific ideology itself. He ends his About description with saying that he likes to discuss a variety of topics, including anti-ideology. What he really means is that he believes his ideology is superior to others and likes to use it to debunk other ideologies. Again, nothing wrong with that. It's just how the marketplace of ideas works. If he was truly anti-ideology, he would be a nihilist. Well, you might also call that an ideology too, but you get the point. Every system of beliefs is an ideology, even the ones you would view as valid and reasonable. I would say that most people fall into the utilitarian ideology to one degree or another. It states that actions are right if they are useful or are for the benefit of the majority. I can't help but think about democracy as I read that. Even a reasonable-sounding ideology like this has problems and can be abused. Flawed ideologies like feminism aren't the only ones that can cause problems. In theory, let's not kid ourselves. In reality, utilitarianism is used quite frequently to justify bad ideas and actions, especially when it comes to using government policy to violate another ideology that some people should be familiar with, classical liberalism. which I believe Sargon has expressed some level of support for, but I am not familiar enough with all of his wide body of work to know that for sure. So classical liberalism is defined by the value it places on civil liberties and economic freedom. Civil liberties being things like free speech, freedom of movement, freedom of association, and protection from government intrusion. The Bill of Rights is a good example of this. Then there is the economic freedom part, where property rights are enforced and people are free to conduct their business as they see fit as long as they are not committing fraud or theft. While I believe there is a wealth of evidence that these things lead to a benefit of the majority, classical liberalism is not driven by stats. For me, it is driven by the idea that peaceful individuals should be free to act in any manner they wish, and that it is immoral for the government to aggress against them. The utilitarian, if presented with evidence that freedom of speech, or at least speech that offends the delicate sensibilities of feminists, causes problems for society, they could very well come to accept the idea that limiting free speech is a good thing. They could be convinced that mass government domestic spying is okay because the government needs to find bad guys, and if you aren't doing anything wrong, then you have nothing to fear, as the saying goes. Would the typical anti-feminist buy into the wage gap if presented with the right evidence? What about privilege? Would they support government intervention? Does any of this sound familiar? It should, because all that and more is happening right now in Western society. As long as it benefits the majority, right? Whatever the fuck that means. I fear that the typical utilitarian devoted to reason and evidence, without any moral framework, is just a few data points away from endorsing actions that violates people's rights to free association, property rights, and so on. Unfortunately, I believe that Sargon falls into this category of utilitarianism, at least to an extent. When asked what his limiting principle of government was, and I'll link that below, he did not have any real answer. The best that he could come up with is a degree of socialism is a necessary evil, and nothing in excess. This is very troubling because for any position out there, you can find statistics and studies that support it. Statistics and studies are very flexible that way. You can even make soft, relativistic justifications like the one Sargon made to help you sleep at night. This is utilitarianism's greatest flaw. It doesn't have any well-defined moral system. What does benefit mean? How do you measure it? What constitutes the majority? Can morality be flipped on its head at the tally of a majority vote? The stance of the classical liberal ideologue is superior to the stance of a potential utilitarian, authoritarian, relativist nanny ideologue. Of course, that is the worst case scenario. An exploration of how to determine what ideologies are worthy of uncompromising and dogmatic belief is perhaps a subject for another post. For now, I will leave you with the flavor of ideologue that I am. I am an ideologue. I am perhaps one of the most extreme types of ideologue. I am an anarcho-capitalist, a voluntarist. I highly value facts and evidence, but that is all superseded by my view of morality. Only voluntary acts can be moral, and any violation of that should be opposed, even the institution of government itself. This has many implications, but that is my starting point. That might sound unreasonable, but you can be damn sure that I won't harm you, your property, or restrict your freedoms. And I will, under no circumstances, vote for someone else to do it on my behalf. Thanks for listening. Live free.